As uncertainty still looms worldwide, things may seem complicated and challenging even now. But there is one thing which is all set to get simpler and more standardized. The health insurance arena is getting a revamp with effect from October 1st, 2020. In the last 1 year, the insurance regulator IRDAI has come out with new guidelines for health insurance products, which will now come into effect from October 1st. Existing products have been given time till September 30th, 2020 to comply with these new guidelines, and products launched after October 1st, 2019 have already adhered to these rules. These policy guidelines have been issued to make health insurance more consumer friendly. The most noteworthy changes for policyholders are health insurers will not be able to reject your claim if you have continuously been covered for at least 8 years. Insurers will not be able to deny coverage outright to those suffering from critical illnesses and 16 other ailments which were not eligible until now. Disclosed pre-existing diseases will be insured immediately after the expiry of the 48-month waiting period or as mentioned in the plan. A range of modern treatment methods and procedures will now be covered. Proportionate deductions will not apply in cases where differential billing is not followed. After completion of pre-existing disease waiting periods in the previous policy, benefits can be transferred to a new policy. In this video, I have with me Mr. Tarun Mathur, CBO of PolicyBazaar.com, to take us through these changes in health insurance guidelines in greater detail, how they will impact policyholders, and what you can see going forward. So, what, according to you, are the three most notable changes that will help the insured the most?
I think that given the regulation that has been brought in, the guidelines that the IRD has given, the three parts that stand out for me are the standardization of exclusions, which means that from a customer's perspective, no matter which plan you buy, there will only be a set of exclusions that are allowed. And he doesn't have to go into the fine print to understand exactly what is there, what is not there, which I think is a large question. See, health insurance is a bit of a technical field, and as a customer, you can't really understand everything. I mean, I can dare say I don't understand most of it. But now that it becomes standardized, what is available in Plan A will also be available in Plan B, and there's no possibility that something that's very crucial is excluded. Then the second one is for me is new coverages like robotic surgeries, bariatric surgery. See, a doctor or a surgeon has a time limit. A robot doesn't have that time limit, and because it was not included under health insurance, a lot of times the customers would not opt for it. Now that gets covered. For hospitals, it's a boon. For the customer, it's great because he's getting a better treatment. He's getting all the new advancement of technology. So I think that's a huge one they've come out with. And I think the third one may not seem that serious, but it's actually one of the largest points that we're seeing today. Affordability, which means getting in a monthly pay mode. Or other, different kind of modes of payment is a big one, because see, if you look at COVID times, our economy has kind of suffered. We've also seen a lot of job losses. We've seen a lot of pay cuts. Now, what happens is your health is important because a pandemic is upon us. So you can't really live without a health insurance plan. But how do you buy it if you've got a pay cut on your own? Now, monthly mode changes it for me, right? 12,000 rupees at one go or 1,000 rupees a month. Very, very different kind of dynamics there. So I think it's a great move, and these are three that I think completely stand out for me.
That's actually very true. It's almost like a vicious cycle, you need to get your health, prioritized, but then how do you do it with the lack of resources? So, moving on, as per the new guidelines, has the possibility of claim rejection after 8 years of premium payment gone down substantially or minutely? How much relief will policyholders get from this, according to you?
Now, because I've been part of the industry for the last 12 and a half years, I can tell you that legit claims are always paid, right? Fraud, of course, will never get paid. But from a consumer's perspective, when he looks at ratios which are less than 100% of payment, he gets afraid. He's afraid he doesn't understand why he would not get paid. Now, when the IRD kind of comes out and says, listen, in 8 years, whatever has to be done, and thereafter the moratorium ends, and you have to pay the claim no matter what. That gives faith to consumers that there's an IRD looking out for them, that whatever happens after 8 years. See, today, you and I can at least say that hopefully we will not kind of fall that desperately sick that we need health insurance. But when will we need it? We'll need it in our 50s, our 60s. And if I bought a plan today, I can afford to kind of pay it out of my paycheck. But what happens when I'm 60 years plus, when I don't have a job, or I have a job which is, doesn't pay that well? At that time, I need the surety that my claim will be paid. So I think it's about building customer faith. It's about telling the consumers that, listen, you will get paid for what you're buying, and it will help you at the time that it needs. So I think one part, of course, you must remember is that this does not mean that whatever co-payments or deductibles are present in a product, or if there's a sum insured limit, that has to be maintained. It doesn't mean it's a blanket cover, obviously. But everything else, whatever is legitimately allowed, will be paid.
Next question, mental illness. There's been a lot of talk around mental illness now due to unfortunate events, also, I mean, enhanced by those, but in general, uh, and mental illness did not earlier fall under the gambit of a health plan. Now, IRDAI has mandated that it be included and, the scope be widened. What are your thoughts on the same, and how do you think it'll work?
And mental illness is real. It's a problem. It's an illness. It is not something that, and it's come very close to home, right? Earlier we used to hear about it or watch movies around it, but it's actually very real. Stress is very real. And see, anything that has a proven success in terms of medical ability must be included in a health plan. Because see, you cannot include any illness which doesn't have the ability to get solved, right? But anything that can be must be included. And mental illness is one of the largest, at least disclosed illnesses today. So I think that see, the IRDA regulation says that treatment of mental illness, stress, and psychological disorders, in fact, including neurodegenerative disorders, will be kind of included. So I think it's a huge step. I think we are becoming the modern India, and this is required for something like that.
Could you name a few ailments that are very prevalent among people and will now find inclusivity in health insurance products?
I think the larger ailments that are today with us are actually diabetes and hypertension, and the complications that come owing to that. See, a large part of a country is diabetic, and you will find that about half the country, or half the people who are buying health insurance, at least, which I know, have either diabetes or hypertension or both. And I think the step they're taken by the IRD is actually, of course, this was already covered, but is around a lot of these illnesses which are now finding their way in. So if you look at it, a lot of these diseases which had found cures were not included, and I think they are now getting included. And we will see, I think, more of this happening as more and more ailments come about.
Another change is the inclusion of modern treatment procedures. Could you briefly tell us what exactly are such procedures and name a few for us too?
And to name a few, I think the ones that at least caught my attention were, of course, robotic surgeries, bronchial thermoplasty, then there is balloon sinuplasty, there is stem cell therapy, there's oral chemotherapy. I think these will start getting covered, and they will make a huge difference in how we kind of go to our ailments.
So, should we also brace ourselves for higher premiums? Will these changes come at a cost?
Shambhavi, I'm afraid you're right. Like I said, the healthcare system, which is not regulated, means that medical inflation cannot be controlled. Now, IRDA has taken out of guidelines which are very pro-customer, of course, right? It's adding everything that wasn't earlier there. But there is a cost implication. It's limited to 5%. But I think it brings out the point that, while, of course, we'll be paying a little more, but we're also covering a lot more. So, I'll give you an example. And I'll take an example of one of the largest, the emperor of all maladies, which is cancer. And if you look at it, it's a disease, right? You can classify it as one, but the amount of cost that goes in there is close to about 20-25 lakh rupees. Now, how do you tide over something like that? I think that you should kind of make sure that all those are covered, because at the time of something like this happening is unfortunate. But one's savings just can't take care of it. So if you ask me today, I am earning, I am healthy, paying, let's say, 5, 7, 10% more is not going to affect me so much. But if a 20 lakh rupee bill comes to my house, how will I react? So yes, the costs are going to go up, but I think it's for the right reasons, right? And you can kind of opt for cover. There are different companies offering the same services at different prices. If you compare and you buy, I think you'll still be able to afford it. But I do think that one needs more coverage than available today, and I think these steps are in the right direction. But yeah, it's going to, of course, increase the cost.